Hello, and welcome back to the Fae Banner Review, where we talk about the same thing over and over and over again, but in the summer. Today, we have a brand new summer banner featuring a bunch of Fae OCs, and not just a bunch of Fae OCs, a bunch of Fae OCs that got alts less than a year ago. And as for tradition, I will be using this coveted line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day to rank the brand new summer banner, as well as the circle graph that may or may not be a circle at the end of the day alongside it. Today's rankings will be based on how many significant changes are present on this banner, and if you could hit that like and subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. The first unit on this banner is Summer Sharena, and I'm just gonna cut to the chase. A majority of the banner is effectively just copy and pasted from their recent alts, so instead of going through everything they have individually, I'm just gonna compare them to what they had before. It'll save more time that way, and there's really only so many times I could say it's this, but newer. So with that being said, what makes this Sharena different from Entwined Sharena? Well, on the weapon side of things, not much at all. They've been streamlining weapons for a while now, which makes this weapon seem different, but it's basically the same with a couple of adjustments. The new weapon has the standard combat effects that every weapon gets now, but besides that, all it does is straight out lull speed and defense for the 50% damage reduction piercing effect. Everything else is the same between the potent 100 and map-wide gale force support. The PRFC skills are at least a bit more different. The old one had built-in Canto Distance, gave out a bunch of bonuses in Incited, Resonance Blades, and Null Follow-Up, and it had built-in Null Guard. The new one instead gives out Attack and Speed Great Talent support to herself and allies within 3 spaces, as well as Empathy and Dodge. It grants extra movement to herself. It grants more true damage based on the total amount of Attack and Speed Great Talent, and trades out Null Guard for 7 HP after combat. It really is just Entwined Sharena, but newer. The main gimmick that made Sharena so good was her ally Gale Force effect, and that hasn't really changed here. She could ally support someone and give them map-wide Gale Force, which is amazing for Aetherite's offense clearing. Not having to be nearby is incredibly flexible, and it's why Entwined Sharena even now is still great. I do like her bonuses more than Entwined, since Empathy and Dodge are more actively useful bonuses. That and being able to give out great talent more quickly is useful. Unfortunately, you're still going to use her in the same way you used Entwined for the most part. They're more or less the same unit in the end, although it's hard to imagine just how much they could have really changed in the span of, what, 8 months? But that also begs the question of, why would they reprint her like this? I wish they experimented more, but it's not like Fae is a stranger to unit typing, aka every subsequent alt is just an upgraded version of the previous iteration. It's safe and easy to do, which I get, but it's not great when they get their upgrade really quickly, especially in Sharena's case, as this is the 3rd version in less than a year. At least she's good, but it's pretty boring overall. Functional, she does the same thing, how much better can it get? Sharena also comes with a bunch of inheritable skills, including Arc Rival, Swift Spectre, and a brand new B skill, an Attack Speed Taker Burst, which grants Attack and Speed Great Talent 1 to herself at the start of the turn. It grants 4 more after combat if they attacked. It inflicts -4 speed and defense during combat, nullifies attack and speed penalties, grants 20% speed-based true damage and true damage reduction, Null Guard, and a special jump of 1 before the first attack. It's basically just newer Speed Taker, which I kinda like. However, unlike Speed Taker, this is locked to infantry for some reason. Speed Taker was accessible to flyers as well, so it feels like a weird omission, but what that probably tells me is that the prerequisite is something locked to infantry, maybe tempo or something, I don't know. Regardless, it is a pretty good skill on the basis of speed checks and great talent stacking. I could see plenty of uses for this skill. Besides that, Arc Rival is still a good special. They keep putting it on every banner ever, so it's probably got to be good. And Swift Spectre is also pretty solid. It's probably the only infantry A skill that I'd consider using since it's different enough from Rise Above. Honestly, if they're going to reprint a skill constantly, I'd rather it be Rise Above. That skill is obscenely good. But yeah, Sharena has plenty of great fodder overall. Can't really go wrong with any of her skills.
I gotcha!
And other than that, that sure is Sharena. It's Entwined Sharena, but now as a sword infantry unit. Her last ult is still incredibly good, so this Sharena should be by default. She gives out better bonuses and hits harder, which is super convenient, but if you already have Entwined Sharena, then it's hard to say if you really need a newer version of her. I think her value wholly depends on whether you have her last ult or not. Next, there's Alfonse, and you'll never believe what he does differently from Chosen Alfonse. That's right, not very much. The new weapon essentially changes the support it gives out. Instead of giving out 6 visible attack and defense, bulwark, and breath, it now gives out preempt pulse, attack liberate, and defense liberate. And on the combat side of things, it trades out the 50% damage reduction piercing effect for a guaranteed follow-up. And besides that, he has the exact same special as Chosen Alfonse. Very interesting stuff, ain't it? Honestly, I think my problem is that they really didn't do much of anything to distinguish him from Chosen Alfonse. He has a bit more range and different support, but the way you're going to interact with him isn't different in a meaningful way. He's gonna go in with Gallop, he's gonna lose in combat, and then he's gonna run away after, like Chosen Alfonse. Honestly, you could argue Chosen Alfonse makes for a better hidden tank unit since he has Bulwark and is an infantry unit, but I digress. I think if they changed up his support more, or crazy idea, hear me out, didn't just make him Chosen Alfonse but newer, there'd be more of a justification for him. Anything to make him stand out a bit more, but at least he's usable by proxy of being a newer Chosen Alfonse. Sure, he may not be remotely interesting, or unique, or special or anything, but at the end of the day, it's nighttime, and this unit is a snooze fest. Alfonse also comes with Attack Defense Clash 3 and Attack Defense Outcry Duel. It's fine enough demote fodder. Nothing too crazy, but it's a mixture of decent bridge fodder and filler for cavalry. It's also more easily accessible since he's a demote. It does the job.
Shall we?
And other than that, that sure is Alfonse. It's Chosen Alfonse, but now as a Lance Cavalry unit. It's kind of funny looking at it because Sharena and Alfonse basically swapped unit typings. Unfortunately, it doesn't really amount to much mechanically since they're both just the same thing but newer. This Alfonse has a bit more range at least, but I can't even give him the benefit of being a demote since Chosen Alfonse is free. He's far from bad, but he's in this really weird spot because of that and the fact that he doesn't do much different. But at least it's another source of Gallop, which really only matters for summoner duels, I guess. They really should have tried harder with his ult. And then we have Hodr, who's an arcane bow flyer. This is somewhat interesting as the lack of a PRF means they have to give her something new. Let's see what they come up with. She comes with Arcane Parasol, which is a slaying bow that inflicts -5 attack speed, defense, and res, 10 true damage, follow-up denial, and a guaranteed follow-up on foes within 3 rows and columns of her, grants Spectrum 10 during combat, 25 true damage, 15 true damage reduction, and 50% damage reduction piercing. That's actually really cool. We haven't had an arcane do drive support before and the effects are really great and it's just horsebow. Okay, cool, never mind. It's slightly better horsebow, but it's basically just horsebow. The arcane trades out inflicting 50% damage reduction piercing for the follow-up effects and it grants more stats, slaying, and true damage overall. It's definitely the better combat variant, but I was kinda hoping it'd be slightly different on the support side of things. Not that it would have been any more creative, but even if it followed the standard arcane pattern of giving out 2 random bonuses, it would have at least been different from horsebow. And horsebow is just Ignat's weapon, so we effectively got this weapon 3 times in the span of 6 months. On the bright side, her actual PRF skill is actually different. It's different enough. It does the same safety fence breaking mechanic, except now it grants Drive Miracle within 3 rows and columns to allies, Imbue, Spectrum 5 and 7 true damage reduction to herself and allies, and penalty neutralization and Miracle to herself. The rest is more or less the same, what with the special jumps and true damage, but it is different. Although some of you may be sitting there thinking, wait, isn't this just the same thing but with more effects tacked onto it? And yeah, you'd be right to think that. That's it, you'd be right. However, to play devil's advocate, there's at least more unique things with Hodr in this case. Not a lot more, but more than what we've seen thus far. I know that's a low bar, but still, I think her being an arcane unit will keep her more readily usable over time since you could change out her weapon and give her echo skills to work with. Crux Echo could be more stat support and Soaring Guidance could be nice for mobility purposes. You can't do that with the original Hodr and Baldr since they aren't rearms. She's also able to be used on every season of Aether Raids, which is great, especially given that what she does supportively is better than what the other safety fence breakers can do. Her miracle range is huge, and giving out Imbue is solid even if they keep putting it on every anima mythic ever. It's basically more roll compression for a unit whose only job is to sit there and look pretty. I think that's okay enough, even if it's not much in the way of new, but who am I kidding? You don't care about that. She's got a freaking bow gun, dude, and it's inheritable. Hodr also comes with Ice Wall, Attack Res Airspace, and Attack Defense Aerial Detect, and that sure is a lot of attack and res fodder. Airspace is airspace, which is good, but it's attack and res, so limitations ensue. Ice Wall is more or less the same deal, and Aerial Detect is pretty great actually. It's map-wide stat swings and true damage, which is always nice. Not too bad overall, but it could be better. Couldn't be worse than Ice Wall at least.
Very well.
And other than that, that sure is Hodr. Hodr is a nice alternative option to Baldr and Hodr. Checking the safety fence is great, and giving out additional drive support is really nice on top of that. There's a solid chance that a lot of people are lacking both of them, which makes the prospect of getting Summer Hodr a lot more appealing. In worst case scenario, she's a rearm so she can duplicate fodder. That can only be so bad. And finally, we have Summer, Baldr, and Vali, and you'll never guess what Baldr and Vali related things they do. I'll give you a hint, it may or may not be similar to what they did several months ago. The weapon is essentially a combination of New Year Baldr and Vali with slight adjustments. They get the standard combat effects of Spectrum 15, 25 true damage, and true damage reduction based on the weapon triangle stuff, except Summer doesn't inflict stat debuffs. Rather, she grants them as a drive to herself and allies, as well as no follow-up instead of damage reduction, piercing, and bonus reversal. It has built-in slaying and IOT shield, red style, and it grants the Vali miracle drive and great talent to herself once every 2 turns, and allies within 3 spaces once per map. And as far as their PRFA skills are concerned, they're more or less the same with a couple of adjustments. They both retain Canto Distance, Spectrum 9 during combat, 7 true damage and true damage reduction, brave hits. They both also inflict Triangle Adept and Exposure, except the new one can inflict it multiple times a turn, and in exchange for null follow-up and the enemy phase brave condition, it grants more stats during combat based on the highest bonus total between the target and foes within 2 spaces. It's literally an infusion of 2 characters, but to give them some credit, at least they're being upfront about it. She does at least get a dual button, and it's something actually new at least. Okay, maybe not the Drain Cancel and Cancel Affinity parts, but the second paragraph is pretty interesting. It allows Baldr and allies to get around cooldown conditions like we see with her Miracle. This means she could get Miracle much more quickly, and if I'm understanding it correctly, it can let units like Harmonic Brave Celica and Brave Byleth use their style much more quickly too. I don't know how many units are affected by that, but it's cool for them at least. The Miracle not being special based is unfortunate for them since it means you could get around it more easily. The Miracle not being special based is very fortunate for me though. I really do not like fighting special based Miracle effects, so thank you for not giving Baldr Invincible Sister on top of what she already has. It's still good to have though, but the issue I have extends to her having a style since it means she can't use her dual button without taking an action first. This can make getting her Miracle back a bit harder. At the very least, her brave hits are more consistent since she can reapply her debuffs, which is something New Year Baldr somewhat struggled with surprisingly. It's another defensive layer since there's more of a risk for foes losing to retaliations. But besides that, it really is just Baldr again. I know it feels like I'm just skimming through this unit, but there's genuinely not much new to say about her that I haven't already talked about recently. She has more defensive options to work with. Her range is more or less the same. She could get around more units thanks to her style. It's just Baldr doing Baldr things, but better and with better fodder. And speaking of which, Baldr also comes with Demonic Force, Strat Assault, and the brand new, not really new, special in the Wind Edge, which is just Ice Edge, but for speed instead of res. This is really good fodder. Wind Edge is another special option for cavalry and flyers, and they desperately needed it for a while. This one being based on speed means that now you have access to options for most flyers. The only ones missing out are the heavy defense leaning ones, but that's very few and far between anyway. Besides that, Demonic Force is solid since it's just Magic Gambit but usable, and Strat Assault, which continues to be a really fantastic C skill for mobility purposes. It's a lot of great stuff overall.
Where to now?
And other than that, that sure is Baldr and Vali. It very much is Baldr and Vali as one unit. There's definitely arguments that can be made between them individually being better, but the amount of compression this unit gets is really good. Sure, she doesn't have special Miracle, but Miracle by itself is really strong still. Not to mention this one can make her Brave check way more consistently since she could reapply her debuffs. There's definitely a trade-off, but Summer Baldr should put in a lot of work. I don't know how she couldn't with everything in her kit. And then there's the free stuff, and who doesn't like free stuff? This time around, we got another Book 7 unit with outdated fodder in Summer Ephraim. He comes with Attack Defense Clash and Alarm Attack Defense. Great. I said it last time, but Anna was 100% an exception. Now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. If nothing else, Ephraim has a funny B skill that gives Brave to any axe. That's fun at least. It's not good, but it's something, I guess. We also got some Sacred Seals and Attack Defense, Snag, and Shadow Shove. Are they out of their minds? Snag as a seal? And yeah, Shadow Shove is cool, sure. Kidding aside, Shadow Shove is actually incredible as a seal, and I'm surprised they'd even print something like this. Shadow skills in general are so strong for positioning units, so I fully welcome this. If we get Smite next, I'd actually be so happy. And that's about it for the free stuff. The seal makes up for Ephraim in my eyes. And besides that, that sure is the banner. Yep. Okay, bye. And now that we've gone over the brand new summer units, I think it's time we rank the banner on the line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new summer banner has earned a 2 out of 10 on the line graph. And based on my understanding of the banner, I believe that it would be best fit somewhere around this area of the circle graph. Even if very uninspired, the units are still good on the basis of being slightly upgraded versions of their previous alts. If it works, I guess. And you may be wondering to yourself, how many times are they going to reprint the same thing over and over again? Which is a question I keep asking myself as well. However, if you're wondering if the banner is worth summoning on, then it could be, yeah. Despite my grievances with the banner, it's not as if these units are bad. How could they be bad when they're just slightly upgraded versions of units that came out less than a year ago? Summer Sharena still gives out map-wide Gale Force, which is fantastic for Aetherid's offense clearing. She hits harder and gives out better bonuses, so she can't really be bad. Summer Baldr still has her Triangle Adept gimmick, except now it's more consistent and she has Miracle as well. Granted, it's not special Miracle, but it's good enough for what she's attempting to do. If nothing else, it's another take on New Year Baldr who could still be really annoying to fight. Summer Hodr is amazing on the basis of checking safety fence, and it's especially nice if you don't own both Baldr and Hodr already. I think that's good enough by itself, and the added miracle support is a nice bonus. And Summer Alfonse is chosen Alfonse, but a lance, so make that for what you will. He's 5 movement instead of 4, making it easier for him to enter combat. But overall, I think what it comes down to for the most part is whether you have their recent alts or not. Hodr is arguably the only one here that's different enough because she's an arcane fence breaker that works on every season, but the blessable part is really doing a lot of heavy lifting. Everyone else here is just the same thing but barely different, but by that same token, that means they're going to be good. Entwined Sharena is still really good for Aetherid's offense clearing, so a newer version is automatically great. Baldr is a weirder comparison because she's just 2 units combined into 1, but considering Vali and New Year Baldr is still good, I can't imagine it won't be the case here. And Alfonse, well, he's trying his best, I guess. I think I'd be more lenient on him if Chosen Alfonse wasn't free, but at least he's a demote. Although it's not like there's any other worthwhile banner to summon on currently. The Roy banner is gone, and all there is to summon on besides Summer is the CYL3 banner from a bit ago. The units there are also good and has some nice fodder too. I do think Summer has a bit more value, but at least the units on the CYL banner are actually interesting mechanically. But if neither of these banners interest you, then I would just hold off on summoning for a while, TBH. 2BH, to be quite H. I'll give it a few months before they drop slightly better versions of these alts too.